Okay, hello everybody. Just a couple of minutes late, sorry about that, but welcome. My name is James Dearsley, and we are here for the Midweek Marketing Mix. And today is quite a momentous day for many reasons. Number one, it's my son's six-week birthday then, 6-year-old birthday. So as soon as this shows, we're off to a restaurant afterwards, which will be quite nice. But also, the Midweek Marketing Mix is meeting the G+ Spotlight Show. Now, I don't think this has ever sort of really happened. We're merging two shows into one for a one-off special. So two of my guests here today are Ben Fisher and Stephan Hovnanian, and I can never say your surname either, Stephan. It's terrible. It's a whole mixture of problems. So we've got Ben and Stephan here. So there we are. Make it simple. We've also got Cara here, Cara Wood for Synced Social Media, who's joining us as well, talking about the social media side. And we're really privileged to mention Ryan Hanley, who's coming on to talk about his book, Content Warfare, which I'm really thrilled, and I want to get a hold of and have a read of it all. But look, before we get into sort of the details and where we're going with this show, I first of all want to just mention some sort of housekeeping points. As always, we're using the Showcase app, which means that all of these guests here have got really interesting things, companies, tools to talk about, and we're basically putting them all in the Showcase app here on the right-hand side, or actually opposite side over this way, where you can see their G+ profiles, their companies, and so on and so forth. And hopefully anything that we talk about we'll put in there as well. We've also, so if you're watching that live, incidentally, on Google+ as we speak, there's a little arrow in a square above my head, and if you click on that, it'll open up the Hangout in a separate window entirely, which means that you can still comment in the comment tracker should you have any thoughts or theories on what we're talking about today. If you're watching this not live and recorded, there's a little box in the bottom which is saying be part of the live conversation on the bottom left, I think it is. So, as you may know, the format of this show is generally sort of 10-minute segments on different parts of social marketing, digital marketing, and so forth. So, what I thought we'd do is, before we kick into the sort of the G+ Spotlight side, which I know Stephan and Ben have got some really interesting things to talk about, what I thought we'd do is just, first of all, go and talk to Cara about the world of social, because I think there's some pretty interesting Twitter things which have been happening. Is that right, Cara?
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for having me on the show, James. It's good to be back. So Twitter. I think one of the largest things that's sort of happening out there is social commerce. And Twitter has included a buy button, which you can put into your tweets. And they've only rolled it out to a few companies right now. One is Home Depot, which I think is kind of interesting. And then they've also rolled it out to quite a few music labels as well, like Soundgarden is one of them, Panic at the Disco, etc. So I think what they're trying to do with this buy button is take out that middleman, so to speak. And they've partnered, so Twitter isn't managing just this themselves, so they've partnered with other companies. So they've partnered with Stripe. So Stripe is going to be managing, all the web and mobile payments. And then they've partnered with a company called Fancy, which is similar to Shopify, which is the company that Facebook partnered with so they could do their sort of online shop within Facebook. But the interesting thing about Fancy is that they do all the shipping for you. They ship to more than 100 cities right now, and they also have same-day delivery in some cities. So this is interesting. It's going to actually sort of possibly compete with Amazon at some point, if this grows large enough. And also, you have the power of your communities. So if you're selling something, you can just go directly into your community where you've already built this support and just set it up for them to buy whatever it is that you're selling. So I think it's going to affect iTunes, and it's going to affect Amazon. It's very interesting. I mean, obviously they're rolling out really small right now, but when it starts to grow, I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
So what's the principle of this? So taking it back a stage to maybe some people amongst us who are watching this, maybe recorded, who are using Twitter. So this is the ability to buy a product or a service or something directly from a tweet that is put out. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes, and you will only have to enter your credit card information once. So once you decide to buy something off Twitter, your credit card information is in there, or you can also use your direct debit through Stripe. And then once it's in there, if you see anything on Twitter that you like, you can buy it, and you don't have to enter your credit card information again. So you can buy music, and it's delivered to you either through email, if it's something digital that you've bought, or through Fancy. They have all of the terms and the conditions and all of the shipping information set up, so you'll enter that in once as well, and then it will be shipped to you. So Twitter, you won't contact Twitter if you have a problem with either purchasing or shipping. You'll contact these other companies.
I personally like the whole idea of the direct debit via Stripe, because that's so much more secure than, say, giving somebody else my credit card information online.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the biggest questions, because I read all of the articles. I mean, Wall Street Journal wrote about this. Inc, Wired. Everyone has their opinions, and one of the sort of biggest concerns was security of information. So I went and looked a little bit further, and the article that I provided, which is off of the Twitter blog, mentioned who they were partnering with. So I went a little bit further and realized that they're partnering with Stripe to manage all of the commerce and the payments and that sort of thing. But it's funny because some people are concerned about, well, impulse buying, right? Because once you have that credit card information entered in, then you're set to go. But if you're a savvy marketer and you know that, say for example, music could definitely be something that people buy, impulse buy. And then the money will go directly to the musician or to the creator or to the person who has set up the shop on the other side through Fancy. So it's interesting. They're cutting out the middleman. It's great.
That's definitely not a concern for marketers, right? That's like a crack addiction to marketers, having that credit card stuffed in Twitter.
No, exactly. Well, and I like the fact too. Basically, they're cutting out the traffic that would normally go to websites. So part of our job on social media was always to create a story or create interest that would drive people back to our clients' websites, right? Now, Twitter and Facebook, sort of, but Twitter is going to find a way that traffic doesn't have to go back to our client's website anymore to make the purchases. It's simply they buy at that moment, and then our analytics for measuring how successful, our social media is going to be based on how many sales they're making.
The one thing I'll say that's really cool about that is kind of a bisection of how the gaming industry does it. So the gaming industry has been doing microtransactions for the past 7-8 years, which is basically, in a sense, what you're talking about, right? Is the ability to buy now directly from the source. And the Xbox Live marketplace works in that exact same kind of function. They've already got Microsoft's got your information already stored. You go ahead and you want to buy DLC or something for a game, and boom, you press a button, download, you're done. So it's a great opportunity for marketers.
It's interesting. I find it's interesting that it's taken this long to roll out, because now that it's here, it's such an aha moment. Well, of course there should be a buy button in Twitter. Why has it taken so long?
Is this Twitter taking any of the margin on this?
That is a good question.
Because as far as I'm concerned, what you've just said to me there, I mean, there's no way Twitter would be rolling this out unless they were monetizing it in some way. And it could be the way that, let's take Google looking at the way that they're starting to do things. I talked last week about these things here, right? Google Glass. One of the things they're looking at with Google Glass is that they're looking at a share of purchase. If you're looking through Glass and you see something as you're walking down the street and you say, hey, that looks really good, I want to buy that. If you're buying it through Google Glass, they're looking at ways of making that a small margin to Google. So I'm wondering in this instance whether this is Twitter monetizing their stream.
I think so. When I went and looked at who they're sort of partnering with right now, they have some pretty big names. I mean, Home Depot, for example, must be paying them, a certain amount per transaction. They just didn't mention that in any of their documentation. I couldn't find it in any articles. But I might dive a little bit deeper and find out, because obviously that's the only way that Twitter is going to make money. I mean, they don't have a revenue source right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know their Twitter advertising has actually done okay, but I don't think it's set the world on fire. So this could be a particularly interesting thing. There's a phrase I often use in speeches, and it's in reference to a bit of technology, which is there's something about it decreases the time between intention and action. And this absolutely sums up what you said here about this Twitter buy button. And just to allow people to see a little bit more information on this, Cara, I think you've referenced a couple of articles which we've put in the Showcase app, which I think are there now. I've actually put it up.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
More information. And what are they? There's one of them is 12 tips or something, isn't it? So I'm just
No. I included, basically what I included was the information, the support that Stripe gives, because if you make a purchase, I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns that people are going to have, is where's my money going and what happens if I want to make a return, that sort of. So I included the information on Stripe, which supports the purchasing, and then I also included the blog that was put out by Twitter that just gives a bit of a rundown of what they're doing and who they're partnering with, because I think that's important. And they've only rolled this out to a few people at this point in the U.S., as far as I know. But it's
typical.
Yes, exactly. So we don't have it here in Canada yet, so all I can do is just watch from the sidelines. But I just thought that would be a good place for people to just sort of go, read about it. And if you Google, Twitter buy button, you'll see all of the other articles as well that have been rolled out in the past couple of days, which are really interesting. There's some fun ones about, purchasing things while you're drunk. Some people are concerned about that.
Would never happen.
No, I don't know. One of the quotes that I loved was, most people, and I didn't include this because I didn't want to put any journalists or bloggers on the spotlight, or not spotlight, but on the spot. But they said that most people use social media when they're drunk, quote unquote.
That's about right now, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not drunk, but
it's getting a bit late. It's nearly 6 o'clock for me.
It is afternoon, so.
So anyways, check those out. And is my 10 minutes almost over?
Yeah, I tell you what, go on, give us another minute. I think you've got something else in there as a link.
Okay, I just had one other little thing with regards to sort of social media and public relations. The lines are kind of starting to get a little bit blurred. Who does a press release? Who creates the story? I don't know anymore. We're doing a lot of press releases these days. And a little company that I've discovered called Presley, and that's Prezly, and I included the link there.
Yeah, just bring it live now for you.
Yeah. They're a cool little company that allows basically social media companies or media companies to create a multimedia press release and then distribute it to your email list. It's not a distribution company like PR Wire or PR Web, but I thought it was a really neat way to kind of blend all of the work that we do as a sort of social media agency into a great little press release that then you can send out to your email list.
Fantastic. And actually, as you've said that, I forgot to tick the button, but there you are now. So in the Showcase app, if you want to know a little bit more about Presley, it's actually there now. So that should be all in there. And to sort of finish that off, I am using the Showcase app. I always do in my presentations because on my show, because a lot of these guys have some fantastic stuff that you need to investigate more, and quite frankly, it's not enough in 10 minutes nor in an hour to discuss all of these. So we try and give you little snapshots of what we think is pretty cool each week, and give you all the information to go and investigate a little bit further.
Thanks, James.
No, that's been my pleasure. Hey, Cara, that's some fantastic stuff. I think that Twitter buy button is really it's really quite exciting, to be honest. And just for some of you guys who are actually in the comment stream here, thanks. Who is it? Vivek, I know you've mentioned that Cara wasn't in the Showcase app. I do apologise. She is there now. William Rock, obviously, I'm so pleased that you did. You did made it. I can't quite pronounce. Is that Wii U? Wii U! And yeah, so there's some good stuff coming in there. So if you've got any questions about what we're talking about here, do please pop it in the comment stream and we'll bring it in. So we're here. So that's the sort of the segment on the social media side with Cara just sort of discussed now, and we're now going to come onto this this sort of combined show with the G+ Spotlight guys, and we've got Ben and Stephan here talking about their show, which I think is going into its 4th season coming up, and a little bit about some research that you guys have been carrying out. So what's been going on, guys? Something to do with audience engagement and everything. So can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So happy Wednesday. Stephan, you start.
I'll start. Happy Wednesday.
Nearly 5 o'clock.
Thanks again, James, for having us on. We're really excited about this. And yeah, when you said, hey, why don't we join forces a little and talk about 2 shows? Thought it was a really cool idea and quite honestly a very unique use of Hangouts. So bravo for doing that. Really appreciate it. So yeah, Ben and I are we're entering our 4th season of Google Plus Business Spotlight. For our 3rd season, which started in April, kind of ran through most of the summer, we had made the decision to take the show that we had created first half of the year and turn it into its own branded channel and create a bit of a playbook for ourselves so that we could make this thing something that we could scale a little bit and also share some of the workload instead of running it off your profile. It makes it a little bit easier running it from a page, et cetera, and so forth. So I think we were pretty successful with that. We just got our 100th YouTube subscriber, which was really cool.
Wow. That's not easy to do, eh?
No, right? And you know what? We don't really promote the YouTube. We don't say subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's not really a call to action for us. So the fact that we were able to get that organically was really cool, and I just noticed that yesterday. And you know what? I will openly admit that there's a lot more that we could be doing. There's some human resource capacity issues, but we have a lot of great ideas, and we're hoping to be able to kick that up the next, for this coming season, a few notches. So going back to what you had mentioned before, James, about polling our audience, we're as responsible marketers we made sure that we were continually building an email list alongside our invite circles and our Google Plus presence for the show. And by doing that, we were able to reach out to them with specifically with a survey, asking, what do you guys want? What can we do for you to make this a really great use of your time and make this a valuable use of your time? So we asked them questions about things like replay. We asked them questions about timing, weekly or bi-weekly, the types of topics that would be most interesting to them. And from there, I'll toss it over to you, Ben. You can give people a little bit more idea of really how this is going to evolve for the next, probably through the rest of the year. I think was our goal to run season 4 through the rest of the year.
So just to really touch base real quick on what you said on the human resources issue, we haven't really announced this publicly, but we have actually Zara Altair, who's in the audience, is going to be joining G Plus Spotlight and helping us out behind the scenes.
Wow.
So I want to a big applause for
If
Zara.
I'd boss, I'd have been prepared for that, and I'd have had a great big people applauding and clapping.
Well, you've got the applause app running, so I'm hoping that the green ticker's running up right now.
Everybody to put that little green...
exactly. So Zara, just keep on clicking on that little button right there.
Hey, you got a +1 from Ryan. That's pretty cool. I've never seen that in the film strip before.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
That is courtesy of Dustin Stout. I used to write it on a piece of paper and hold it up like this, and he got so sick of seeing that in Hangouts that he made that thing.
Is it a PNG file? Is it like a lower third thing?
Yeah, and then I save it in my saved presets, and I keep my Hangout toolbox open, and I just click over to it when I want to.
Oh, that's cool.
Not interrupt, but...
Now, do you know what that really is, in honesty? That is an HOA host and regular film strip people being just a little bit geeky about what we know.
More than a little bit geeky. More than a little bit geeky, for sure. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to hijack your...
Oh, it's all good, Ryan. Ryan, you can hijack anytime, dude. Anytime. Remember, we had you on G Plus Spotlight. We can or not have you on again. Just joking.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, dude. But seriously, so yeah, going back to that, so we have chosen to go with a format which is based on our responses, is to go bi-weekly basically for the rest of this year, and then at the beginning of the year we might be going to actually a weekly format. We're also moving our show time up, basically up a half an hour, so it's going to be 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Back a half hour.
Okay, well, all right.
Yeah,
So
I screw that up all the time too. So yes, we're pushing it back farther in the day.
That's cool.
Back farther in the day, yes.
Which means I'm going to have to relearn all of my time zone conversions for for our little trailer. Although that trailer idea might end up be something we change up as well, instead of the James, I know you do this as well, just kind of a little preview of the show. We haven't actually settled in on what we're going to do there, but we may tap a well-known trailer maker here on Plus to hook us up with something cool that we could use.
Wonder who that could be.
But no, we won't say his name, but his initials are Jeff C.
JC. Like the manly man who we all want to be. But no, hey, that's great news about Zara. I mean, look, we've got some players coming into Ursula. You know, congrats, Zara. Well done, you lucky lady. I don't know why she's lucky working with you two. I mean,
yeah, I haven't quite figured that out either yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
And look, hey, fantastic choice from Yazine. So you know, it's great stuff. Really, it's good, isn't it?
So yeah, to wrap that up, you know, also based on the feedback that we got, we overwhelmingly, we got people who wanted us to actually bring on somebody who was going to focus on one Google Plus strategy that they're using for their business. An example of that might be, say, just an expert on local pages. And then also for the other show, the other was is somebody who is a general online, has a general online marketing strategy, somebody kind of like more of a keynote type of person, an expert, you know, a super expert. And then it was kind of followed up with like, you know, tool shows. People love to hear about any kind of tools, whether they have to do with G+ or not. And Stephan, I will throw it over to you for the rest of the information. Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, and our tool shows convert. So we actually do want to do those. Like people, we've had people come on to talk about their services. A lot of times our audience has definitely responded to that, and we appreciate that. So I think we're going to continue to do it. You know, the trick with all of this, honestly, there are so many different different people creating content using Hangouts. So trying to find that unique spin, which was I think that was the highest percentage response that we had across all of our questions, was we asked if our guests needed to be doing something unique, and you know, it was like overwhelming. Yes, we don't want the same old.
67%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was insane.
It's particularly interesting you say that, because when I started building for the Midweek Marketing Mix, what I was really aware of with the HOAs and everything that was going on, I mean, there's some fantastic hosts out there and some fantastic regular panelists which are, you know, going on there and as you say, creating great content. And I was sort of thinking, well, hang on a second, can we, you know, do we just come in there and just do the same old thing? And that's where the sort of the principle of this Midweek Marketing Mix came in, which is saying, look, an hour is an awful long time. A half hour is an awful long time for somebody to give up and come and watch your shows, and so you've got to be giving something different, something new, which is why we came up with the sort of the 10-minute snapshots of the marketing mix over the last couple of weeks, where it means that people can dip in and dip out of what they want to hear. I mean, if they don't care about Facebook or they don't care about Twitter, then obviously today they won't have to listen to the beautiful Cara. If they only want to hear about G+, then they only listen to the almost as beautiful you guys. And
you are so charming, honestly.
I'm trying desperately.
I don't have one.
But then, you know, that's what it's all about, because I mean, these HOAs, it's important, man. It's, you know, we've got to give these people the right content, but also we've got to make it that they can get what they want when they want it and how they want it. And we mentioned earlier, I think in the film clip before we went live, about timestamping of posts, and I was saying that one of the things that we always try to concentrate on doing is, as soon as this show is over, we got Dave, one of my guys in the background. He's actually watching this as we go, timestamping as we go, so that within 15 minutes of this show ending, there should be a timestamped post that everybody can then watch exactly what they want, rather than having to, you know, go through the whole thing. So I think you're right, and 67%, that's a big number.
Well, but think about it. I mean, yes, I want something unique. I mean, how many times do you have to read the same blog post about 10, 20, 50, 71 different ways that you could write a great headline? You don't need that. You only need that a couple of times in your life, and then you can move to the next part. So I will say the one thing we are as hosts, because you brought up an interesting point, James, and I want to flip it back on you. So you said that you have, you want to be able to give people what you want. Well, at the same time, you're investing a lot of time in this, right? As a producer, and you want to make sure that you can provide something of value to you as well. And that comes in a bunch of different forms. We all know that. It can come in forms of, financial support, sponsorship, just creating content. That was a lot of why we started our show, was just to create a lot of content and, thought leadership, for lack of a better term, around, the idea of using Google Plus for business, as opposed to just, social media marketing. And, so for us, as long as we can continue to hold true to that, we'll bring on anybody our audience wants. So, kind of along those lines, with respect to the the idea of bringing on that like keynote style speaker, what we're going to try and do within that part of it is to bring on people that are not necessarily social media experts, and like maybe try and find marketing managers within a name brand, a well-known brand, or people within brands, because I think that was another thing that I think that our audience was really interested in. It wasn't necessarily it was a little more split, but it wasn't like the average company. It was a little bit more, we can learn a lot from people that have more resources available to them and have a little bit more business intelligence applications available to them. So let's learn from that, right? And so the fact that we can give that to them without bringing on the same people, no disrespect to them, but without bringing on the same types of people day in and day out, bloggers and social media experts and things like that, you just get a different spin. And it's something that's a little more unique and tangible, I think, because these guys are running a business, which is what a lot of our audience does as well during the day. So that's part of our hope with this, and we'll see how it goes.
And that's what we saw really in the last, I'd say the last season, maybe even a part of the season before that is that when we brought on T-Mobile, when we brought on Unbounce, of course Guy Kawasaki and Peg for Canva, is that people got a lot of value from the direct strategies that they were using in their day-to-day work. So who knows? We might bring on somebody who's an expert in docs. We might bring on an expert or somebody who's in local. Stephan, do you want to flip a coin and talk about who our first two are?
Yeah, sure. So we have our first two. You get a very interesting guest for our second show. So our first two episodes, October 8th, right, is I guess the official kickoff, because this is sort of the unofficial one. But yeah, our official kickoff for the season 4 is going to be October 8th with Haiku Deck, which is, actually I need to go research these guys, because I know Mark Traphagen talks about them all the time, and Ben booked the guy on the show, so now I need to go search this. But the more and more I hear, the more I think it's a really cool application. So I can't wait to.
CEO of Haiku.
Yeah, so I'm stoked to have him on to talk a little about to talk to us. And for the follow-up, the next one. We are bringing on somebody who has developed a very unique brand voice for themselves on Google+. We're bringing on a dog.
Yeah, we're bringing on a dog.
Bringing on a dog. Christine DeGraff, if you don't know her, she's a very active Google Pluser.
You're not calling Christine a dog, are you?
Christine has a dog named Bandit, and Bandit gets, Christine's dog named Bandit. Bandit gets, on par or better engagement than some of the most well-known Google Plus users on the platform. And
most high amount of followers.
Yeah, in terms of followers. Not Britney Spears level, but so we're like, hey, let's talk about brand voice, because quite honestly, if you go to Bandit's page, you're gonna say, well, I know Christine's posting because obviously dogs can't do this for themselves, but she has developed such a great brand voice, and it's like perfection for a dog. So hey, we're like, why don't we bring on a dog? And hey, it'll be fun. It'll be a bit outrageous, but there's a great little lesson in there to talk about brand voice and trying to find the right kind of target audience. I mean, she did a great little expose article on how to use CircleScope and find the right kind of target audience. Like, she's a great little case study for this whole thing. It's a bit of a unique approach to it because we're using a pet instead of a business page, but the concept is the same. And I think maybe we humanize it a little bit more and make it more accessible. But it's going to be fun regardless.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the true story of that with Bandit, is 3 weeks she went up to 1,000 followers. And Bandit is an affiliate marketer, and Bandit sold a T-shirt. So, hey, we all know how hard it is as an affiliate marketer to earn trust, and if you can do that using, managing your circles properly, so that's really, I think, at the end of the day, it's going to be about brand voice, it's going to be about circling, and it's going to be about how to be a really good affiliate marketer. I mean,
I tell you what, actually, funny enough to pick that up, actually, because I think what you just said there, and I must just bring in William's comment here about bring on the dog plus Bandit. That sort of sums it up, doesn't it, really? But what that is all going to be about is that building this brand, building this persona, and building it and so on. And funny enough, you mentioned earlier on about how you got to 100 subscribers on YouTube. I got to some crazy figure because I set up my brand many, many years ago, 8 years ago, for being a beekeeper. And I was a persona of being a beekeeper, which is funny enough how I now know Jeff C. And because I was doing all this content around this beekeeping stuff, that's how I got my subscribers. So it's particularly pertinent. I mean, you can do whatever you want to be. You can be whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do by creating the brand persona around you and tweeting and Facebooking and Google Plusing to your heart's content, following that thing. So I think that'd be a particularly interesting one, actually, particularly. And just to bring up a comment here from Ursula. I mean, love how you guys are growing the shows. The new format sounds great. So, and really, that's the whole reason for getting you guys on here. Because as far as I'm concerned, on a Wednesday there are two key shows. Obviously, my one. But secondly, what you guys are doing at G+ Spotlight. My hat is docked to some of the stuff that you guys talk about and chat about, and the format that you have. I think it's lovely. And really, the whole reason for sort of inviting you guys on here is the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, these are the two shows that everybody should be following and looking at on a Wednesday, because I hope they're good enough for everybody. So
I would actually toss one more in the mix that happens on. It's only once a month, but David Amerland hosts a Social Media Today Power Talk, I think, or Power Chat.
Yeah,
Power Talk.
Power Talk. Yeah, it's going on right now, and it's very high level, but it is amazing content. Month in and month out. So it's only once a month, and I think it's like usually the last or the second to last Wednesday of the month. But we obviously have to catch the replay on it all the time. But that's one that I make sure that I go and catch, because it's the last 3 or 4 I've listened to have just been stellar. So check that out. Put that on your docket.
Stephan Hovnanian, what else can you expect?
Yeah, he does a great job interviewing too. Like, he brings people that he just I don't know. It's neat to see that side of him too, because a lot of times he's a guest. So for him to be directing the conversation is pretty cool too, and he does a phenomenal job. And again, the people that he brings on to talk about higher level issues in terms of especially social media marketing and just your online presence as a whole. It's good eye-opening stuff.
Yeah, I once gave David the challenge to. He was in a hangout, and I said to him, he can't speak unless he uses at least 3 syllables. Because when David talks, I just have to nod. I can't even. It takes me about an hour to decipher what he's saying. It's so complex and constructed so wonderfully that I blows my mind. But no,
yeah, he's smart.
Frighteningly.
His books are awesome. His books are very Read both of his books twice at least. I'm looking forward to reading Ryan's at least 3 times.
We gave in a hangout that it was going to be bring out the guns, and he had to stand there and flex his muscles in his tight t-shirt as he went. But sadly, he forgot halfway through. We had to see if anybody noticed that somebody brought out the guns, but sadly, it didn't happen. But look, I just want to say here, look, favourite comment so far from Vivek. I love this, and I got no idea the context of this mention whatsoever. But resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. I mean, how does that happen in a hangout? I got no idea, Vivek. But
is that a V for Vendetta reference?
I hate to think. I don't dare. But Vivek, he's based up in London, I think you are, Vivek. So one day I was going to come and see you, but I'm a bit worried now.
I believe that is a Star Trek reference.
Yeah, one of those ones. Alrighty, well look, let's Stephan, Ben, have you got anything to add there about your sort of the Google Plus stories, Google Plus Spotlight, and what we can expect, or is that have you exhausted all of your bits and pieces?
Only thing I would add is just we have a lot of, we're up to over 30 episodes now, and each one of them's on our blog, gplusspotlight.com. So it's just go check it out. And honestly, as far as the replay goes, or the blog post goes, I am always, cause that's the thing I do, I'm always looking for feedback on the kind of format you want, because you could do it a billion different ways, and I've played with different formats and styles, so I'm always trying to understand what people are looking for. And there's a lot of great ones over there, and I'm putting some of them up on SoundCloud as well. We don't have a channel for G+ Spotlight yet. I'm just putting them under my own name. But if you're the audio type, I got 10 of them or so up on there. I'm going to put more. But yeah, So
cool. If you got a link for them, let us know, and I'll get it on the Showcase app, and I'll share them out so everyone can see them.
And the only thing I would add to that is that if there's anybody special that somebody wants to really be featured on G+ Spotlight, feel free to either send Stephan or myself a private message anytime. We're always open to open up to ideas and feedback. So.
Or just send a PM to G+ Spotlight because we both check it.
That's true too.
There we go. So, right, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. SMT is on right now. I think the schedule must be different then. Events more squished together. Yeah, don't all run. Don't all finish and get on there. No, you're more than welcome to. Okay, look, what do we got here? So that reference is, I'm going to reference you here, Ryan Hanley, because it's a seamless interruption. Sort of mention of you. So it's a Star Trek Next Generation reference, the Borg, remember? I'm such a bad Trekkie. I really am. But look, Ryan, I want to kind of sort of bring it to you. So, you're a special guest in this show, and I want to talk about the content warfare because the moment I saw the way that you sort of got this book published, Content Warfare, and I'm just going to get a screenshot of this, your cover so everybody can sort of see what you're doing here. I thought it was a really unique thing to do because I love the stories of how people get books published. I'm just going to share this now so everyone can see the cover, because I think the cover's pretty cool as well. I just love the way that you went about it, to be honest, because I was very fortunate to have a book published, and I did it very much reversed to you, which is I mentioned about my beekeeping before, and I built the social media audience, and as a result of social media audience and engagement, I went to the publishers and say, I think you need to publish my book about beekeeping, bizarrely, because I've got audience. But can you just sort of give us a little bit of an idea as to what you did, how you did it, and where you are now with Content Warfare? What are you doing?
The first thing I'm going to say is that as a hardcore connoisseur of locally sourced honey, I applaud you for your beekeeping. I actually am aware of every local honey producing spot within like a 15-mile radius of my home, and I have different seasons for the ones that I go to. So that's a little, I'm going to geek out on that, and then I'll pull myself back in. But I knew we had an affinity for each other. I just didn't know what it was until you started talking about your beekeeping.
You would be surprised at the affinity of beekeeping that I keep, especially when I deliver clients. I deliver them my different forms of honey each year for Christmas. They love that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's good fun.
So so the book. So I put a lot of thought into traditional publishing versus publishing it myself. Talked to a lot of different people that had done it both ways, and as you would assume, everyone who's done it a certain way kind of feels that their way, they pitch you on why their way was the way to go. What I ultimately decided was that being that this was my first book of probably a few that I would like to write at some point, I wanted to control it as much as I could from the aspect of I wanted to be the genesis of my own thoughts and creativity and see what I could put together. But I wanted to publish it in as, I'm going to do air quotes here for those listening later, professional manner as I possibly could. So I didn't just want to blow it together, pay somebody $100 to make sure that the spelling was correct, and push it out through Amazon. I wanted to have a hardcover, soft cover. There's going to be an audio version. Mars Dorian did the design, so I had a very particular person in mind to do the cover. If I'd gone through a publisher, there's probably no way that I could have got that cover approved. It really, I wanted it to be the type of people that I wanted on the project. I wanted them to be all my people, and the only way that I could figure to do that was crowdsourcing. And to be honest with you, this book has been essentially 75% written for 2 years. It wasn't until I mentioned to a good friend of mine, Tom Morkis, who is an incredible guy, originally out of Chicago, I think, but now he just traverses the world doing like really cool things. So I don't really even know where he actually is in the world today. But I mentioned him in a hangout. Geez, it's driving me nuts. I got this book. It's 75% written, but I can't get to the finish line. And he said, you have to talk to my friend, Guy Vincent, who is the founder of Publishizer. I spent an hour and a half on the phone with Guy, and I was sold. He just he kind of fit the bill for everything that I would want in a partner on this type of project. Energetic, he got it. He understood the things that were kind of holding me up. Walked me through the process of setting up the crowdfunding campaign. Was an incredible advisor on the project. And you know, I can really kind of say is the primary reason that it's a reality is my work with him. And I found the Publishizer platform in general to be a great place to kind of do this type of business. I know there's a lot of different formats, and it's similar in different ways to Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I mean, they're all over.
And if I just may there, Ryan, because I just want to bring up a point on this, which is this is how I first. I mean, I didn't come across you in this way because obviously you're in my notifying circle, and I liked what you were putting out there. But the first I heard about your book was from your initial post and saying, "Look, guys, I want to get my book published, and please click here and buy my book using Publishizer." And that was the first I heard. So just in sort of a minute detail, so Publishizer is basically a crowdfunding site
for authors.
For authors.
Authors only.
There you go.
But, it's only. Oh, sorry. It's only authors. So you can only. It's only for authors. But essentially, with a few nuanced differences, it's a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo.
Cool. And so the deal was, if I'm correct, you had to raise a certain amount of pre-orders.
$10K
for them to, in terms of in dollars, right? So it's.
Yep. Yeah. So $10K US.
That's pretty cool. So basically, they said that, and so then, in a sense, you sort of did what I had done previously, which is to build a social media audience, and harnessing the power of your social media audience, you're able to get the pre-orders in order for you then to publish the book.
Yeah. So one of the things that I talk about a lot, and I'm gonna not jump up on my soapbox about this, even though I probably could, is the idea that we're always audience building. You know, content marketing. I don't even like to talk about the term content.
Are you still there, Ryan? Have we lost you?
Content marketing. And now I apologize, guys. I'm hardwired. That's kind of weird.
They're dramatic pauses.
They're dramatic pauses. Okay. Hopefully I'm back now. Yeah, so it's basically, one of the things that I evangelize is audience building as a lifestyle. Every piece of content, everything that you put out there is kind of giving people little insights into who you are, what you do, how you can help them, all the things. You know, give without ever asking for any type of reciprocation, so that in the moment when you need them, which this crowdfunding campaign was when I needed someone, I needed my audience who was interested in this project to come out and support me, they were there. If I had banged them over the head for the entirety of my time online with the various things that I could have been asking for, it would have been much tougher to fund this project. But because I am of the opinion that your audience is your most valuable asset, and I am of that opinion for just this reason. When I needed them to activate and come to support this project, they did, and we set the record for fastest funding of a book on the Publishizer platform. And there had been, relatively new, but I think there had been 57 books published before mine.
Wow.
And we fully funded the project in 21 days.
Wow, bravo.
Thank you.
And talk about social proof.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It essentially ended up being a case study for what the book is about itself, which is kind of a weird vortex thing where it's like chicken or the egg, but it was cool. I'm glad it worked. If it didn't work, then the book might have just been full of crap.
It still might be. You never know.
It still might be. It still might be. That's true.
But look, I tell you what, someone's impressed. I've got to bring in William's comment in here because you basically usurped David Amerland. My book is coming out, so I need to learn this today. It's the first time I think, and Ryan Hanley, this dude rocks. So, there you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Alrighty. And Dustin, bless him, was just joined in, which I think is brilliant. I'm having too much fun with this applause feature. Just waiting for someone to say something I can hit thumbs down for. This point, Dustin, hit it down now. There you go. But no, so that's great. Well, I tell you what. I mean, we've covered the sort of the story as to how you got the book out there, how it got published, because I think that in itself is a story, and I really, really sincerely hope that Publishizer use this as a great advert for how you can crowdsource book publishing, because personally, all of this aspect, there are so many aspiring authors out there. There are very few amongst us who've actually gone the traditional funding route and got publishers the old school way of it. This is absolutely the new school way, and it reinforces. And Ben, I couldn't have said it better yourself. That is absolute social proof if it was needed. But let's give the guys here a little bit of an idea of what it's all about and content warfare. So what can they expect? If they went out there now and just said, look, we want to buy Ryan's book, what are they going to get back from this?
So the book itself, the tagline of the book or subtitle, whatever you want to call it, basically tells you exactly what you get. It's you're going to find it teaches you how to find your audience, tell your story, and ultimately win the battle for attention online. And it is, I have some case studies in there, I have some interviews, but a lot of it is just the work that I did, both for 7 years working for a mid-sized business, mid to small-size local business, building up their presence. I basically used it as my testing ground for everything that I thought could potentially work. I tried everything. I was newly married with no kids, so we had a lot of time. I wasn't out doing the things that use time that single guys do. So we had.
You mean going to bars?
Yes, I just did the work. I was working all the time, and as geeky as I think we all realize that everybody on this call is, it was a lot of fun, and it gave a lot of good case studies. And then and I've done some consulting work too. So I pulled from a lot of different spaces. The book is more geared for, I would say, mid to small size businesses than it is for like a Home Depot or a marketing manager in that company. Though I think they could get something out of it. It's not necessarily written for them, but it's all about what we just talked about, and essentially, in a nutshell, kind of repurposing what I did with the crowdfunding campaign. How to build the audience. What are the aspects of your business, of your personality, that you can pull out and share in different forms of content that are going to enamor people to you and what you do. And then once you've kind of built that up, how do you, what I call activate that audience through your, how do you activate that audience to extract value from them? And when is the right time to do that? Because that's another huge part of this. It is, if you ask too often or you ask at the wrong time, you can use up that positive brand value that you've accumulated over time. It's not a renewable resource. It's something that you can use up if you abuse it. So ultimately, I think what it does is teach people how to build a business that you can draw a lot of value out of using digital tools.
Oh, fantastic. And when's it officially published? What's the
For the public, it'll be the first week of November. For everyone who participated in the crowdfunding campaign, they're going to get it mid to late October.
Fantastic. I very much wish you all the best with it, and I hope it goes well, Ryan. And I look forward to reading it personally. And one thing I want to pick up on, because both you and Stephan have mentioned it today, which is this idea of responsible marketers building their audience in the right way. And I think that's an absolutely critical point that you have both mentioned. It must make me an irresponsible marketer, because I sort of look at I haven't been building audiences in the way that perhaps a responsible marketer should be, but I just think anybody amongst us who's watching this, obviously that is the core component of everything that we do, whether that be the email address, whether it be business cards, whether it be circles in the organizing the right way of G+, or Facebook friends, or whatever it might be. So I think you both really picked up on that really well. Well, look, we've got sort of 5 or 10 minutes left, and what I just wanted to sort of do is just bring on a little bit of snapshot of some of the stuff that I've been working on this week, because it's new, and that's the whole premise of this show. And what I like to do is I like to talk about things which are different and new and exciting, and perhaps marketeers are looking very much perhaps what's on their computer screens, and every single one of us gets completely overwhelmed with the amount of the ringing bell all the time, or emails pinging in left, right, and centre. And I like to look a little bit more about the future and where we're going with marketing. And last time on the Midweek Marketing Mix, I mentioned about my experiences with using glass for the first time, which has been quite interesting. I do a lot of talks, particularly in a property audience, and I mentioned about how we're looking and investigating about using glass to do live streaming of property viewings and having virtual viewings. And this week I just wanted to sort of bring just a quick 5-minute snapshot on another project which is kicking off, which is these guys here, which is the Oculus Rift. Many of you who perhaps are not familiar with this as a platform, this is virtual reality. And you might be able to see just in there, there's two little lenses, which I'll just hold up. And essentially, there is a mobile phone screen hidden underneath this. And these lenses are very ultra wide lenses, which essentially put you in virtual reality. Now, what's been pretty new and exciting of late is that I have recently got one of these, which is the latest version. And Ben, I know you're probably geeking out at this point.
Oh, completely geeking out on this.
There you go. So this is the latest one from Oculus. Now, the reason I want to sort of mention these is because I think this has got a fantastic story. Like the like Ryan's story, every sort of successful person has got a good story behind. And the Oculus, I think, has been particularly interesting because the guy who built this company was a gentleman called Palmer Luckey. And he was 18 years old. He dropped out of college and decided this was the future. He was already a tinkerer anyway, and tinkering with little bits of virtual reality kit. And he developed this. And he was 18. And he went to Kickstarter. We talked about crowdfunding already. And he raised $250,000, one of the most successful campaigns. Usurped recently by the Pebble Watch, which was actually the most successful ever. I think has been beaten recently. But the reason I want to mention this is that Facebook bought these guys out about 3 months ago. And they didn't just buy them out, they bought them out for $2 billion. And Palmer Luckey, suddenly, he was 18, he's now 21. And he's just, he's managed to make himself exceedingly well off. And for me, it makes it a very interesting future. Part of the reason why I think virtual reality is going to be interesting is because you create a very immersive environment. We've seen recently some fantastic case studies of big brands starting to utilize the old virtual reality, which is these guys. And some people, when they put them on, they feel a little bit nauseous and they're not particularly happy, but they are immersed in a totally different world, totally different environment. And yet we've got big brands like Thomas Cook over here in the UK and Europe, which is part of the TUI Group, which is one of the biggest tour operators in the world. And they are sort of trying to integrate it with their shopping center experiences, and they're saying to people, look, come into our stores, not just to have a chat with people, but to actually experience what it's like to be on one of our resorts. And so they're putting people in the Oculus Rift, and they're saying, this is the resort in wherever it may be. And so the clients or prospective clients are able to feel exactly what it's going to feel like, which personally I think is an amazing experience. You've got Center Parcs, which is a big holiday village over here in Europe. Again, they recently took over one of the busiest railway stations in the entire UK and put people in a virtual reality environment, which is it's to do with big adventure playgrounds outside in the trees, and you're able to swing through zip wires and climb up massive rope bridges. And you can't really recreate that in a busy railway station, but you can with a virtual reality environment. And they put prospective clients into this, holding onto ropes as they went up. It actually mirrored in the virtual reality experience. And so suddenly, these people were in a totally immersive environment. And I often talk that the marketing of the future, we're going to have what I call the 3 I's, which is immersion, interaction, and innovation. And they are going to be the 3 I's of future marketing. Now, take that forward another 5 years or so. I've already mentioned here, this is the DevKit 2 from Oculus, which means that inside of this, you're in a high-definition environment. So suddenly, you're in a high-definition virtual world. Within 1 month of Facebook purchasing Oculus, they went to every single film studio in Hollywood and started talking to them about making 360-degree video films. For me, the entire nature of the Facebook business model is changing. It's not just a social network. It's one of the most active user bases that any company has in the world, at 1.3 billion, I think it is. I'm suggesting that Facebook may become the Netflix of 360-degree filmmaking. Imagine, rather than watching television screens where you're just watching a film and you're interacting with a 2D image, imagine wearing something like an Oculus and being immersed in the film. You're deciding where to look as the film plays out in front of you. As you're turning around, you're hearing things related on where you're looking around. Suddenly, watching films in a virtual environment is very, very different, and Facebook is starting to investigate in that. The entire gaming world is about to change. Gaming in VR headsets versus just a 2D shoot 'em up on a film, it's in a whole entire immersive environment. So all I just wanted to give you really was a basic snapshot on virtual reality, a very quick overview of what this sort of the kits are about. This is in its absolute infancy. There is not a commercial unit yet available for Mr. and Mrs. Joe Smith in the public. It's changing the way that we look at marketing. Remember the innovation, immersion, and interactivity. That's what marketing is getting to. I think interactivity is already there with the likes of what social's doing. And to quote the Oculus CEO just recently, it's not going to be too long until these guys are like these. And I'm arguing that there is a term at the moment that we use. We use augmented reality a lot, which is superimposing things which are just in your view line. There's virtual reality, which is when you're totally immersed. And there will become a time in the not too distant future when we will be able to make a decision whether we want true reality, whether we want totally immersive reality, or whether we just want something augmented in our viewpoint. So we might be walking down the street and saying, I want to see Spanish restaurants. And in your glasses or on your contact lenses, you will be able to see all the little Yelp reviews which are popping up in front of you and making a decision based on your augmented view which is in front of you. We're in a very, very exciting, if scary period of time in the future of marketing. And that's my 5-minute little soapbox discussion about where potentially the future of marketing is going to go.
I think you get an applause for that.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude.
There we go. So that's a little bit of my waffle that I get involved with on a day-to-day basis, and I got encouraged to do this by a couple of the guys from the last couple of times. So I hope that that helps you out. But look, just to say, there's a couple of people geeking out in the comment stream, so I'm really pleased about that. And you know, by all means, come in and say hello at some point. But look, I'm going to make an apology. It's 2 minutes to 6. I've promised my 6-year-old son, who was born 6 years today, that I'm going to take him out with his mum and his little brother to go out for a restaurant. Guys, in the film strip, have you got anything final to add in terms of anything that you're doing which is interesting this week or next, or any little sort of calls to action that you want to put away? Come on.
We just have a great week. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, actually, all right, there was one thing I've been wanting to say, and that is just to go back to all the way at the beginning of the show. And it's kind of just back to Kara about Stripe. Is that little known fact, it's just a little trivia piece, is that SteadyDemand Pro, our Google Plus Analytics tool, we actually use Stripe. So, and we did it for security.
Yes, yeah, they have a very good reputation, so that's good to know. I sent them a message on Twitter that I would mention them on this show. We'll see. I mean, they should be happy. they got some good airtime from us. So.
It should be a good time.
Thanks,
On that steady demand thing, it's in the Showcase app. So those of you who are watching the recording of this, I will put that live so you can get the access to the steady demand stuff and all that lot of. Just to sort of finish off with that, I love this comment from Carmen, who says, "Do the tour operators I mentioned earlier also provide a sea breeze and a pina colada?" I could scare you with some of the applications that these guys have been using with fans in front of faces, augmented smells coming in. Yeah, do you know what? That's not far off common, sadly. God, like that. Drinking a pina colada. Can't complain, can you? But look, guys, I'm going to finish it off there. I've got a dash. Got a little a birthday meal with my boys. So, look, thanks to the guys in the film strip. I really appreciate you being here, as always. And thanks for you who have been watching it as well. So that's the end of the Midweek Marketing Mix. Next week, we have the data show. And we've got a great case study looking at BuzzSumo and some of their analytics tools which are coming in. So I hope some of you will join me same time next week on the 1st of October. How did it get to that? Cheers, guys. Have a good week.
All right. Happy birthday
Bye,
to you, guys.